My name is Mary Miles. This is for Dr. Awadawa's 168 A&P class. This is the dissection of a sheep brain, and this is my piece of paper that I am going to be using for reference. So here's my sheep brain. And I'm going to kind of point out some of the features on the outside of the brain first before I actually make a cut into the brain. So up front here, we're going to have the frontal lobe. Over here is the parietal lobe. On this side, we have the temporal lobe. And in the back here, we have the occipital lobe. The longitudinal fissure here separates the cerebrum. Right here we have the transverse fissure, and that separates what they call the small brain or the cerebellum from the cerebrum. We have the gyrus and the sulcus here, the gyrus and then the sulcus. We're going to next flip over the brain and look at some of the structures here on the ventral view. Right here is where the olfactory bulb would be, which would connect to the olfactory tract that would run down the cerebral hemispheres. Here's where the optic nerve has been cut off, but it would make an X where the optic tract connects and goes down the cerebrum. The ocular motor nerve number 3, that would be located right about here. Next we have the trochlear nerve, which would be number 4, which would be right around here. The olfactory bulb. And also I'd like to mention here we have the medulla oblongata, the pons, and then the midbrain. So now I'm going to make an incision on the longitudinal fissure to separate the right and left hemispheres of the brain. So we can take a look on the inside of the brain, which would be a sagittal view. So we got to be careful. We're going to separate it just a little bit with the connective tissue, because we don't want to break the central sulcus, which divides the front and parietal lobe. Just cut this apart. There. Now we have a nice view of the inside of the brain. You can see the arbor vitae of the cerebellum. And the inside of the brain here we have okay, so this right here, this is the the corpus callosum. Right here we have the thalamus, and underneath that will be the hypothalamus. This is the pineal gland. The fornix is the inferior portion of the corpus callosum. And I'm thinking I've named all the parts on the list. So that will be my conclusion. Well, and I can add that this part right down here is the spinal cord, which sticks straight out for a sheep, which differs from a human brain, because a human brain would be angled towards the feet instead of out towards the back or a tail. So that is all the parts of my brain, and that is going to conclude my video on my brain.